again, 7 o'clock, thereabouts, over the meeting for the, 16th of August, I guess it is, 2021. We did the abatements. Go to the minutes, June 21st. Anyone have any comments, corrections, additions, or whatever? Bill, you must have something.
I do. It's a minor thing.
How
On
will I
the
know
first
that?
page, right there where it says June 23rd, go up 3 lines, missing an R. Other than that, I'll make a motion to approve
Mr. Marshall, is that?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of June 23rd.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? It is a vote. Superintendent status report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today we had a test shutdown on the 8-inch line on Main Street, at Mill Street, at the bridge. We thought that the line was abandoned, turns out it's still alive. So the guys did some work, we just moved last week, identifying the valves, and today we did a test shutdown. That was successful, so tomorrow they'll be cutting the gap in that. So it's on MDR's way.
Okay. Are they taking that bridge out, Scott, you know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, Washington 4B and Bible 3A was sampled with PFAS. Those are confirmatory samples. They've already been tested. They had a detect and still below the limit. Required to do a retest to confirm them. That was done. With the completion of that, that ends the program through the Mass DEP. They have a free program for testing where.
So we're clean.
Well, yeah, you have to do an initial round of testing.
Yep.
Just to get that baseline. And by default, their requirements, which means if you had a defect, you do a confirmatory. Now that all the source wells are done, we don't have to do those again.
Okay.
We're following the sample schedule for our routine sample, with alpha-analytically in. And we did the routine sample for the Willis plant, which is quarterly, and also the monthly sample for this plant. Monthly sample for this plant because it was over 10 parts per trillion. It's not near the MCL. In fact, one of the good things is every time we do analysis, those numbers are going down. To the point where at the Willis plant, less than 2 parts per trillion is considered non-detected. We went from 2.32 one time ago to 2.07. So it's really close to getting to that point where they can be detected. And this plant, we went from 15.5 down to 15, now we're down to 11.5 in the last round. So the numbers are going in the right direction for us.
Good.
Again, no action required on our part, we're below the MCL. Robert's filter group was at the plant today, as well as last week. Troubleshooting filters number 5 and 6. That's part of that rehabilitation program. We had some components failing, and rather than wait for them to fail completely, like filter 7 and 8, as you know, we did filters, well, the remaining 6. It wasn't so smooth this time, everything was rebuilt, and we weren't seeing the run times we expected. Not an issue with the water quality, that's remained perfect, but the flow through the filter drops out over time, and it should be performing better than that. So they're here, they're on site, they'll be back tomorrow. They think they have an idea what it is, we'll find out tomorrow morning if they're right or not. I think Bill, you had asked about the draft water management act permit. That's up for public comment, that went on August 11th. So they have their 30 days there. I saw it on the state website, they mentioned the environmental monitor, I can see it there in their update, but it is up for comment. And the last thing I have to note is that the warrant closes on the 14th of September. Your board meets, or this board meets on the 13th. We wanna make sure that the articles, that you have, the 4 articles, get voted that night before the select board closes the warrant. Otherwise they'll get pulled. Okay, that's my report.
Okay.
I got a question,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman. 2 things, the caller phone, tell me about that, what happened?
Call from it?
Yeah.
Yes. We have routine monitoring, weekly monitoring, and the first week of every month, we do an expanded set with the treatment plants and the storage tanks. 2 of those samples had a detect for sample is performed at the site of the presence for coliform, as well as the upstream and downstream locations for that site. We perform those sample collections, sent to the lab immediately, and they all came back absent. So as far as compliance, there's no further action that we need to take.
And the second question is, we're talking about the Z-weed, right?
Yep.
That, am I right in assuming that was, sold to a different company, the Z-weed, a while back?
Z-Weed, that technology was from a company called Xenon Environmental in Canada. After we went through the whole purchasing and set up through them, they got bought by GE. So now it was GE selling the Z-Weed product, the same people in Canada running it, but now they have a different owner. Since that time, they've been purchased again from GE by Suez.
Suez.
So now Suez owns the Xenon.
Okay. And have you seen any change in anything? Like this,
No.
this looks like a maintenance problem.
It is for the Z-Weed, that is a maintenance thing, not, the filter 5 and 6 was here, not at the Xenon plant. The same people that were there for the most part are there now, that we're dealing with the same people. The technology is the same, it's just who the owner is has changed.
Okay, and they're gonna address this?
By this, you mean, are you talking about filters 5 and 6?
Yeah, I'm talking about the flow through the Z-weed, right?
Well, no, that's a whole different issue. The filter number 5 and 6 are at this plant. This is a Roberts filtration plant.
I know, this is a whole, okay, you were talking about this plant,
Yes,
the green sand?
yes.
Oh, okay,
What happened was, a few years back, they filter 7 have the air wash system break down. It's made out of yellow grass. It corroded, plant being now 23 years old. It sheared off and broke. So now instead of a smooth flow of air evenly across the bed, now it's one pipe disturbed all the media. That was replaced. But a year and a half after that, filter 8 had the same thing occur. Seeing what we're looking for down the road, we decided to do all 6 remaining filters as a project to save money, so that rather than doing one at a time as they fail, it'll be a better deal than doing 2 at a time, which is what we started.
thank you, Scott.
John?
Okay, Bill?
In the minutes, it says that the warrant closed on August 24th. Is that date changed? I think you said September something. And if it's August 24th, we should make sure we vote tonight.
I believe it's September 14th.
I know there's an item in the packet tonight to be voted on.
Right, that's what I was wondering.
Well, yeah, the capital budget
Right.
items.
Yeah,
I have those 4 articles, I mean, if the board wants to vote tonight on them. That's-
Well, unless there's a reason, just to make sure that we don't, I mean, that's, we're, what, 8 days away, we're not meeting again, so.
Yeah, definitely item number 4 on the capital budget items, those need to be voted tonight. And if
We still have time for our next meeting, I'd rather hold off, we got a ton of stuff here.
I believe it's September 13th is your next meeting.
And you think the 14th
September
is,
14th, I believe, was when the
You'll know what's
select board.
Mary, if you make sure you get that on
I will,
the agenda.
I will make, yeah,
Okay, you all set with
absolutely
that?
make sure.
Okay. Before we start the correspondence, gentlemen, I got this, package in the mail or whatever, and this is crazy. From now on, if you wanna post something, do it through me, through the chairman. And my other problem is, when we have a meeting, if someone wants to say something, please raise your hand and I'll call on you. So we're not talking back and forth over each other and stuff. Okay? Let's get on the correspondence.
John, so
Bill,
when you said post things, is it, if we want something on the agenda, is that what you mean, we?
come from me.
Okay.
All right, but some of this stuff is, out there. All right, the first one, memo dated 7/21 with comments, ZBA from Snowboarder regarding the floodplain and confirmation, rather, at 295 Union Street. And there is something in here about the proposed sewer force main. I don't know if everyone's looked at it, but
Do we, we
So
have?
what does it say Tesla, excuse me?
I don't know.
Scott, do you know anything about that? Tesla.
Correspondence one, Tesla,
Yeah,
that's what the fees.
So
It's called.
force
No.
oh,
That's right. Yeah, I believe the town manager's comments were that, as far as the fees go, that was something that I had directly been discussing,
that's
Mr.
a different,
Chairman?
that's a different one.
the different one.
Bill.
I remember watching that ZBA meeting, and that's down by the Dunkin' Donuts, out in the Norwood Walpole line. That big building there, apparently Tesla, who has
Is
a,
that the one that's vacant now?
yeah, they have a showroom, I think, in Dedham, but they wanna have a facility where they can bring cars to, you know, do some maintenance on them, or, you know, if there's some aftermarket, whatever that needs to be put on, they would do it there, so.
Okay,
So that's the reason it in fact is the car depot.
okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Bill,
do we have any map or anything to look at?
no, I have nothing.
Can we get that?
Sure.
I think that's that place that's vacant right now,
Yeah, is that,
It is.
across from the trucking company.
yeah, is that, there's two buildings there, right? One,
Yeah, I don't know which one, and whether it's, as you go down, is it on the right or the left, but there, it's one of those
it's
two
on
buildings.
the, it's on the right, is it the first building or the second?
Well, the very first building now is, it used to be a furniture pier,
Oh,
one,
no,
two,
I
three,
mean,
whatever,
I
the
mean,
next
no,
one
no,
over.
next one.
I'm not
Yeah,
talking about
the next
that,
one
there's
over,
two
I
more
don't know.
buildings after that,
I don't,
after Pier 1,
yeah.
the bicycle shop.
You get a map of that, that'd be,
I'd like to see the map,
that'd be good, you know.
yeah.
Okay, number two. Comments, on the 130 West Street, West End mixed use. That's the place right now, on the left as you go under the bridge.
By VEW, right?
No, it's a landscape in there, or what it is now.
I think it's the Dry Creek,
Yeah, that's right,
yeah.
yeah.
It's right on the corner of Spring and, West Street.
West Street, yeah.
That had 24 units that was sort of in a circle with some garages and
We need more,
private
we
mixed
need
use.
more units.
And Mr. Chairman, again, do we have any plans or maps or
We did,
locus or?
we did the previous meeting,
Yeah,
we
last
had,
meeting.
You came up once before,
Yeah.
the stone on
Yeah.
the bottom part is gonna be retail and the upper portion is gonna be residential.
In fact, the unique thing was that the people, to buy in there, you had to have a residential unit and the retail unit, same owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Cool,
that.
so they're trying to encourage them to live.
Okay.
Okay, number three. This is from the town engineer, New World Estates, I think that's the one off of Peach Street?
yes, we've already commented
Yeah.
on it, unless there's something new that the town engineer has brought up. If the board has concerns,
Not pursuing water.
yeah, I didn't see anything, so.
Correspondence for, this is from Rick Manson.
How many buildings in that little
Just
subdivision?
tells us the Scott's in for now.
That's a red noted.
Mr. Chairman, how many buildings in that Peach Street?
How many, what,
How many
I
buildings?
thought it was just two,
I thought it was three.
three?
Okay. All right. I'd seen it, but it just seemed a very small area to put houses in.
New World Estates. Correspondence 5. This is Bill Hamilton with a solar array, everyone read that? Read and noted.
Could I, Mr. Chairman, just a
Sure,
comment?
go ahead.
The, I spoke to the town engineer, and he mentioned to me that the solar array that's proposed, we actually have a sewer and water easement that runs through the middle of that field,
Nice.
and they don't show it on the plan. And he recommended we at least consider requesting the zoning, or whoever, the planning board or zoning board, that they acknowledge the easement and show it on their plans, cause they'll have to have a setback from the sewer and water easement on the property.
That's interesting.
It is through the ZBA, they had a hearing, I didn't listen to all the way to the end, because some of those go on forever. So I don't know.
Well, I
if
just saw that the other night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And,
I was watching.
because the chairman had to step down because he teaches at the Aggies, so
Right.
I don't know if they rendered a decision or not.
There was a lot of opposition, I know.
Yeah,
Okay, we should look into that.
Well, that's, Hamilton, if I could just, he brought up the issue of when the selectmen, when we had the water contamination up in 109,
Right,
we had to come through
yeah,
Norfolk Aggie, and
so that's
they were
the
gonna
issue.
put Bill Hamilton in jail because he was a selectman. Author.
Well,
But he brought up the point that, not just that the easement's there, but he brought up the point that, there is a, recharge area there, and, whatever.
Yeah.
So he was making the point that we did have a water easement there and had a history. I guess that was all that was discussed from that angle.
How would we check on something like that?
Well, we could ask Scott to just see if Carl Baldoff could maybe give us the map that shows the easement, the sort of water easement through the project, and we know where it was.
That's interesting. Okay. Correspondence 6. It's another Bill Hamilton. He's afraid the sheep are gonna damage the solar. Go ahead and note unless anyone has any comments or anything. Correspondence 7, another William Hamilton. And this is basically the same thing, talking about sheep and stuff. Years ago, when Jim Merriam was the town administrator, there's a piece of land inside Adams Farm that was owned by the agricultural school. And when we sold the building on Main Street, the old Fisher School, we retained the baseball field behind it. And I was talking to a guy from the ag yard, I almost had a deal set where they'd take the ball field and give us that piece that was in the middle of Adams Farm, and then, I don't know what happened, someone dropped the ball and it never got done. And we can't use the ball field because they won't let you park there anywhere, so our little league kids can't use it.
This is the old Fisher School, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the agricultural school kids use it.
How come?
I don't know, we never got that piece of land in the middle of Adams Farm, and,
Is it landlocked?
we got nothing, yeah.
Well, what happened is the town sold Fisher School as a separate project for
That was a
offices.
mistake.
So that got rid of the parking lot, control of the parking lot. So I think the Aggie people, they have their own parking lot, and they can just walk across the street, they don't have to have a parking lot. But
To
for
my
the Little
knowledge,
League,
to my
because
knowledge,
my
it's
Little
still
League
our
teams used to
field.
practice out there, yeah, but,
Why can't the public park at the Yankee?
Where, in the Aggie?
Yeah.
I don't know.
well, there's a new development up there, you should drive up on, North Street. They built a huge big ball field complex, and I think the town does use it.
Yeah?
They got a whole new ball field.
Who
out there.
built it?
I don't know.
Is it right
I mean,
off?
it's the Aggie school, but obviously built it. And they have a ball team, I assume, with the school.
Okay. Correspondence 8.
Mr. Chairman.
This is the I&I stuff.
Right, the only thing that we did is, or the only thing that the state required is that you have a program for iron removal, which we do have, and that it is funded. And it is funded, right now with the phase, the most recent were phase 10 and 11 from the MWRA's program. It's an interesting question in that, that it does say over 15,000 gallons, they have to remove 4 to 1. Seems to me that, he's saying, well, does that mean that the town is on the hook to, no. If there is a requirement by the state, to remove a 4 to 1 then they're on the hook to do it. We have a program for us and which meets the letter of that regulation, and it's funded. So I would suggest, and maybe, and since it's directed to Rick, is to let Rick know that it's our opinion that we aren't on the hook to remove a 4-to-1 on, if it's a large development that's putting out 15,000 gallons per day.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I never recall, getting rid of the, 4-to-1, okay? I knew that we had a court case and all that.
We
But-
talked about it, but
But why didn't we go to a 1-to-1, which nobody could argue with ever? And we wouldn't have this, what the town is paying itself, that doesn't make any
the
sense.
state's requiring us to go 4-to-1, right?
No,
Well, certain, it's not exactly that way, but there are portions that said we should have a 4-to-1.
I've read this numerous times as a result of us being sued. There are two things. You have to have a program. We do have a program. It has to be funded. And we are funding it through the MWA's loan program, those phases. And that's all the requirement that we have to do. If a development comes and is going to discharge 15,000, they're obligated to remove it. Now, what we did is eliminate the ability for a user to pay us money to do it, which we were just accumulating money without any way of being able to get those gallons out. And the thing didn't require a 1-to-1. The only place where it made a requirement of a ratio was for the very large user who was distributing it. So I think that it's up to if someone has that large of a distribution into the system and they don't wanna do it, they should deal with the state.
Well, I think we should have 1-to-1 ratio. I think if a developer comes into the
Stop a lot
town,
of court cases, wouldn't it?
no, I don't think they could fight that, John. You know,
No, they couldn't.
because they're putting in 5,000 gallons, you need to take out 5,000 gallons. Is that unreasonable?
We could do that. I'm just saying, the regulation that refers to this
I know what you're saying.
15,000 just says you need to have a program,
Well,
check mark.
my
You need
question
to have a
is,
funding, check mark.
why haven't we done that?
Haven't done what?
Put a 1-to-1 ratio in I and I. That's what I see as the problem here,
What,
because our town management never alerted us to that fact. There is no I and I right now. Is that correct?
no,
They pay?
no.
It's one of the.
Right.
No,
So
we have-
they should pay for what they put in.
Well, we can do that. The thing is
Why
that
haven't
we
we?
don't want to get into the business of giving a developer the option to say, oh, you take it, and you'll be responsible for it, and I'll just write you a check. The problem is once you've done all the easy, found, the leaky manhole, you end up saying, all right, I'll find those 5,000 gallons, and you go, there isn't, and now we were just collecting money,
No, but-
of which,
But we never resolved that we might have to refurbish sewer lines.
oh, and,
Okay, that wasn't resolved, you remember?
right.
So we need to investigate that. Can we
How about
use
putting
the
it
money
onto the
from
agenda,
I and I?
to see
John, do
if
you
we
remember
would
this?
like to go on that.
Okay, he's right about having too much money, basically. But one of the things you
That's
do
what
with the
a lot of the
money,
builders are worried about too.
and I thought it was a good idea, is if we have old garbagey sewers, why couldn't we make them better and bigger?
Well, I think you can improve it at any point in time when you have the need, I think.
Right, that's what I'm
Bill's
saying.
memo about the sewer program and the future of the sewer as far as the master plan, one of the financing options is bringing back I and I program financing to help finance for that thing. I think what the attorney was telling us was that if there is no present need, you can't force people to chase windmills and go out there and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars looking for leaks that aren't there. problems that aren't there.
If you
So
put in,
that was you don't have to argue with me, the
I'm
lawyer
not
was
gonna-
telling us
I'll
that, so
argue
we
with
just
the lawyer when she comes again.
The system's pretty tight now, anyway. All right, we could,
We pay a lot.
put it down for further discussion at another time.
Yeah.
Correspondence 9. This is Bill's stuff.
The only thing that really is of note is that, the red columns predict the history. If you look at the average of the, 2016, 17, 18 is sort of the historical, and then for whatever reason, and we've never really come up with a good reason, on 2019, we were like, 10% plus below. 2020, it, again, still lower than, and you don't expect to be pumping lots of water in the middle of the winter because no one's watering their lawn. It seemed to go back to somewhat normal, but on this July, we were, it's unusual, we were pumping less than you would have expected.
Because we had floods, Bill.
Well, that's maybe the most
Torrential-
likely the reason.
Torrential rains.
Yeah, but it's,
So no sprinkler systems running anywhere.
yes, so
That's the whole-
it's just a
Okay.
continuation
I
of,
can't stop my grass from growing.
I know,
And I don't
I'm mowing
want
it twice a week. I just, it's interesting to see that, just out, and
Well,
it
it's
does,
good if we can keep track of
and
it.
it does affect our revenue. It is sort of a leading indicator. If you
Yeah.
don't pump it, you're not gonna be selling it, so.
Okay,
Do
correspondence
we,
11.
do we collect the rain statistics?
Do we, I mean, I do at my house.
Do we what?
I don't know, Scott, do we keep track of, I see we have a rain gauge out there, we used to right up in there, do we keep statistics? I know a long time ago, John Anderson used to do that, but he is long since stopped.
Stanley Road.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah, I mean, does collect stuff for the, or we used to, but I think he
Yeah,
is.
right in front yard.
Yeah, it was one of those official looking
Or
shelters.
we can get it from any online site, they can give us the.
Well, the issue is getting it in Walpole, and even within Walpole, particularly when you have a thunderstorm, it's over there, it's not over here, it's in the same town.
Which is fine, but it's about average rainfall, isn't it? Like, when you're checking the
Yeah.
average water pumping stats, we can see whether, it correlates with the average rainfall.
Well, I think, every day, doesn't the, operator, when they go around and check, they check to see the groundwater level, not only at the well site itself, but out at a test well. And do we keep track of that on a daily level? Cause that's really what you need.
Monthly average,
I mean-
that's it, yeah. Because this is monthly steps, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, so just the monthly steps.
It's nice information, it's FYI, but I don't see, the relevance to this and why we spend time on it. That's what it is, FYI?
It is, I just see it as a leading indicator of why, if you start to see a lot of red things, we're not pumping water, we're not selling it. That's silly. And if the commission doesn't want, that's
Oh, no,
fine,
I respectfully disagree with my colleague. Bill, I really appreciate you doing this, and I know it's a lot of effort and it's something above and beyond what the department
It's
does.
interesting to keep
And
track of it.
it's good information, and you're right, there are different impacts of policy and pricing and other things that,
But
Well, I will
it impacts
continue.
revenue, and that's what the next sheets are.
Right.
Right, that's correspondence
That's why
11.
I was wondering why this, never mind, we'll have to look at the revenue numbers of what we wanna know.
There's two, number 10 and 11. One and 10 is just, closes out the fiscal year 2021, which shows that we did collect much more revenue than we anticipated. And as I note in there, it was because of the efforts of Mary and her people trying to shrink the billing lag. We were able to do additional commitment sheets. So normally, a billing cycle, we do quarterly, you would expect to see 4. There were like 4 or 5 that we did 5, and that's what drove that number. If you look usage charges, where we were at 121%. The reason I break it down is that if you remember how we used to have the rate sheet, it was basically the MWPAT number and miscellaneous and from user. Now you can see month by month and compare by year. You can see, oh, the reason we were short. Look at the new entrance and fees. Where 2018 we had $1 million. The next year we had 800,000, and then it dropped down to 100,000, and that's a significant thing. Now, if we're short or we're over, you can see where the problem is. So again, 10 is just the wrap up of the previous fiscal year, and number 11 is what you see for the first month of this fiscal year. I get the information generally around the 10th. And that's when I, collect it, put it onto the agenda, and now I will send it to our chairman to put it on the agenda.
Chairman, I have a comment. When we are doing the rate hearing in June, we were told that we are running behind the budget, we need to raise the rate. And here, the numbers given which have changed, now it shows that we are 121% more than what we are going to collect. So this is the problem here. In the rate hearing, we were given a different number, and today we have a different number.
Mr. Chairman?
Billy?
The reason at the rate hearing, we were looking at a lower number than what we collected in fiscal '21 was because there's no guarantee that we would do 5 additional or 4 additional commitment sheets. What we plan is every cycle we'll do 4. And now I know Mary and her group are.
No, the numbers are still okay in the sewer, in the water it's 121%.
Right.
And that was argued in the rate hearing, saying that water rates are already high, we are collecting more than usual. But the rate hearing, we still was told that our collections are low, we need to increase the rate.
Again, the reason that we would, that they were low, they were not low in that fiscal year, but there was a reason because of these additional commitment sheets that we did 5 billings for a number of cycles. Looking forward into this fiscal year, you wouldn't say, well, we did 5 extras, we'll do 5 extras again. You would expect.
So why the 5 extra is not showing up in the sewer revenue?
On which one?
In the sewer revenue, so it's 100%, 101%.
Oh, there is on fiscal year '21, when we did that, we saw that how the breakdown was happening. But one of the things that we learned is that in prior years, we were thinking that we were selling 88 million cubic feet of water. When we actually looked at it, we said, no, you've been at 79, then it went to 76, then it went to 74, then down to 73. We did not address the sewer at that time. In FY '22, we did lower the amount of expected gallons because we were again looking at something that we didn't, we were for years saying we were gonna sell not that you sell sewer, but using in the rate calculation 52 million cubic feet of sewerage, when in fact we weren't coming, close to that. And so in FY '22, we set both of those, and again, you're estimating, you don't know whether it's gonna rain or not, or whatever. You don't know how many buildings are gonna go, so what you're estimating for like entrance fees and so forth.
Mr. Commissioner, I have still a question. Why the water revenue is 121% and sewer revenue is 101% when the bills are same, the billing cycles are same?
They would have, I can tell you why. Some of, and I actually have the information, not every place who has water has sewer. And
So
there are certain areas of town where, like, around 95% of the people who have water also have sewer. There are other areas, particularly when you get into North Walpole and into South Walpole, who have water, from us but do not get sewer. John and I live a stone's throw away from each other. I'm on sewer. Between his house and mine is the end of the line.
I'm talking about percentages, not the actuals. When you say, you have 101% collection of the revenue in the sewer, and you have 121% collection in the water. So that means the water charges are more.
No, it means that the extras happen to have more, there were more people who just had water than had the combination of water and sewer.
That doesn't make sense. The 20% difference doesn't make sense.
Well, the numbers are what the numbers are, I mean,
Yeah,
that's.
so we need that numbers all the time correct, because when we have rate hearing, the numbers are shown that we don't have the budgeted numbers, the rate should be increased, and here we are shown a number that, we collected more than what was, so
Okay,
that's the problem
All
I'm
right.
trying to point out.
I would just say, Pradeep, that, we have a rate here, and we have to make decisions based on historical data to that point.
Which is
That's
fine,
what we
which
did.
is fine, yeah, which is fine,
So
totally
there's
fine,
no
yeah.
argument about that,
Yeah,
just don't
yeah.
get no one to.
Totally fine. What I'm
Wrong.
saying is just in June and here, we are in August, like just 60 days, the whole numbers have changed. That's
It's
I'm trying to
anomaly.
point it, yeah.
Yeah, it's an anomaly,
It's a huge anomaly.
catching up and fixing some things to get payment.
Okay.
so again, unless the commission doesn't want to see the numbers, I think it's important that we see them, but again, if they don't, I won't bother to pass them on to our chairman.
If you have time for it, Bill, it's fine.
No,
Are we
I wanna do it
numbers?
because I wanna see, you know, I just remember when we, it might have been a couple, maybe it was 2018, where they say, hey, you're going short. And you're going, why don't you tell us? And then I get these, I said, hey, I wanna see exactly the detail, and we're gonna start following it month by month so that we're not caught unawares. And that's the reason I do both the production as well as the actual revenue numbers. And if you're interested, I can get the expense numbers, and you can track those if interested.
Okay, let's get into discussion items. First one is your baby again, Bill.
At the last meeting, someone didn't have, or wasn't aware of what was in the sewer master plan. And I said, all right, I'll write up a summary of it, and if anyone has any questions, it's, as you know, it's a book about an inch and a half thick. The only other item at the very end, when I wrote this up, Rick had asked Wesson and Sampson to look into the rural area in North Walpole, because the master plan did not cover that at all, because it's been the policy of the board that we weren't going to do sewers in the rural zone because the lots are big and, you know, could,
Expensive.
well, it's expensive, but also the idea, if you've got a large lot, you have room on your property to put a septic system. So what I also said that what I would do is find out where are we having problems? So I've been dealing with the Board of Health, and it's this section here where I said, here's all the streets that weren't covered in the rural zone, not only in North Walpole, and Sean, you brought that up, led us to, you know, there's an issue. But I also looked down in South Walpole, you know, the West Pine Drives, the Kyle Roads, and in those areas, also in a rural zone. So I listed all those, and then I said, you know, the master plan has everything broken down into 20 phases, 70-something odd $1 million. You know, I said, all right, let's just list the first 6 phases, because maybe if we were going to do sewer, it's probably in the high priority areas, just to get a sense of, are they, as the Board of Health, experiencing problems? And now they were nice enough to take my list and fill in the, you know, where there were issues and what house numbers were. So again, I think maybe the decision that that we were talking about at the previous meeting is, do we wish to start doing sewer? It's been a long time since we've done any. yes or no, and if yes, then we have a master plan that has listed things, we now have more information, and we're gonna get the information about the areas like, up in North Walpole, which were not covered, and as I believe John has said, they're like 30 years old, poor soils, and they're starting to have problems out there, so.
Patrick,
Okay, number one, I have the original plan here, which I need to get it seemed, I don't have the 2019, master plan. So I'd like to get that part, so I'd have a big one, like Dr. Hassinger. Okay, Mary, I need to get the, 2019 sewer master plan, so I can add it to my 2000 master plan. Secondly, we're talking about the rural line, and this is before you were on commission, Bill, so I understand that you may not know this. When the MWRA decided to collect all the sewer in these areas, each town was asked, do you have a section of the town that you will never sewer? Okay, because we're all gonna contribute to the treatment of the sewer, and if you had a big town and you said it was all gonna be sewered, you needed to pay for the capacity of the new treatment plant. Everybody understand that, right? Okay. Now, Walpole decided we would sewer the entire town. So there's no rural zone, it doesn't make any difference. No matter where you live in Walpole, you're entitled to sewer, you pay for it. Well, actually, you know who pays for it? The people on sewer pay for it.
Yeah.
Because they're paying,
You have the opportunity, but you don't pay for it unless you hook up.
that's right, but the big opportunity was the plant. So in your bill, the sewer bill for people on sewer, there's an added piece on that, because it gives the right of people on septic to connect, and that really is not fair. There probably should be a surcharge on everybody who has a septic system to pay.
well, there's a
little bit.
betterment fee,
Huh?
it's a betterment fee for
No, I'm
just.
talking about even if you never set up, even if you never joined, because,
But isn't there a betterment when he goes by your house?
Yes, there is.
yeah, if you're on sewer. Yeah,
No,
but what if you're
even
not,
on sewer?
if you're not on sewer?
Well, if it goes by your house, if we construct the sewer, and it goes by your house, John, and as long as your septic system is working, the Department of Health isn't gonna make it connect. You have a problem, they're gonna make
There's
it
still a
connect.
betterment
But the
fee.
betterment, the fact that it went by your house, you'll pay the betterment.
Right, that's what I
Yeah,
said.
But this is a different thing, it was about the capacity of the Deer Island
Well, they
plant.
shouldn't pay for that, Patrick. Well, if the sewer goes near their house, in front of the house, and they don't avail themselves up, they're gonna pay the betterment fee. Otherwise, it's not available. They have no skin in the game whatsoever.
That's where we differ, it is available, everybody in the
No,
town
I
of
agree.
Walpole
In
can
fact,
have a sewer.
you've made my point now. I just wanna explain this to Bill. That this is again great. I totally disagree with the prism that this is being analyzed through, which is strictly a financial thing of assuming the town is gonna pay for everything. And that the property owner will gonna pay 25%. We can't think of it that way, because I think the way you have to think about it is just, for example, the one I brought up, and it's irony because people have called me, a few of them, because they had failed septic systems. They're very concerned. It's gonna cost them 60 grand if they can do it because of the soils, etc. These are big homes, they pay big taxes on these big lots, these 1 and 2 acre lots, they're bigger homes, they pay big taxes. If their sewer fails, if their septic fails, and they can't meet the standards, the town's got a problem too. And we're supposed to actually bring utilities to them as a taxpayer. So the federal government has a big infrastructure program coming. Massachusetts is gonna get billions. So we can't think like that. We have to think like we may get a grant for $500 million to put sewer. So we better have the plans ready for these things so we can take advantage of it. The towns who don't think like that aren't gonna get it. So, and I think it's not simply the way this gentleman, it's kind of a linear, myopic way to look at it. He's simply looking at sewer, so much a foot, and there's so many feet, and it's such and such, and the study's gonna cost, and of course, they always emphasize the engineering is gonna cost as much as the sewer line is, that type of thing, but on a scale, the town doesn't have to. It is gonna cost what is being said here in the first place. In the second place, there is an obligation, it isn't just arbitrary. The sewer commissioners just can't say, forget them, tough luck, move out of your house, get lost. No, we have to figure out a plan to get them sewer and what it's gonna cost. So I feel strongly we need, and this, the calls on septic, some people don't let the Board of Health know that they having frequent pumping and stuff. They just go with the flow until the thing totally fails, or they go to sell a house and they find out their septic system is, absolutely no good. But I think we have this opportunity, and I think we've done so much of the town. There's only a few there are not a few sections, Bill, I'll say there's 20 sites or something, but they're not big sections of town. But it's unique because we have the advantage, like the Coach Road, the one that you did here. High Oaks brought sewer right to the border. There's sewer from Northwood, and there's sewer comes like in 3 directions right to that location. So we have, the sewer system already has the advantage of the private developers doing all that sewer, bringing it right to the place where we don't have sewer for the septic. So that's a good economic opportunity, particularly if someone else is paying for it. So I don't think we should be scared off just by our budgetary things that we can't afford to do that. Because it may well be we're gonna be handed the opportunity to do it and do it at almost no cost to us.
Scott, when a guy pumps your house and brings it down and gets rid of it, don't they have to report where that came from?
Yeah, they don't, awful, yes. They have to,
So this information, it's not a question of, did somebody call up the Board of Health and say, I'm having problems with it? It's when they are saying, all right, these people are pumping twice a year, that's excessive.
The thing is, Bill, I don't know if it was a company that didn't dump it in Walpole, took it somewhere else, we probably wouldn't know.
Yeah, like some of the big hauls up there, they don't dump anything in the wall.
Yeah.
Well, I know Wind River doesn't, and there's I think there's really one who does a lot of it, and we dealt with them to, open up the Robbins Road facility an extra hour. But there's another couple that do a smaller amount. In terms of I did, in the end there, just went through the present way that we charge the betterments, just to make sure people are understanding, without any change. And I understand that there's a potential for, infrastructure money to come, is that it's one thing to say, okay, we're committed to extending sewer, and it's going to cost us something. Which will end up on the rates, but also that we wanna make sure that the places, when we run it by somebody's house, there's a betterment to pay, and somebody might be, in the example was going to end up with their property tax bill $3,000 in this example, and higher than, and they should be aware that before they say, oh yeah, I'd like to have sewer, because we do have situations where people say, I want sewer to run by my house, but I don't wanna connect, because it raises your water and sewer bill. I mean, the water stays whatever it is, but we know that the sewer rates are much higher than water. I want it out there so when I need it, it's there. I don't have a problem of, and I, many years would have someone call and say, my system just failed, can I get, sewer on my, I said, it's not gonna take at least 2 years if we voted it tonight. Between appropriating.
I'm pretty sure that we've had in the past places that needed, they had big real problems, they wanted sewer. So they got a petition, all the neighbors and stuff.
Right.
We put it in and half and don't even connect up.
I know. Well, I just wanted to get back on the betterments. When I first joined, it was, if I remember, it was the homeowner paid half, the state paid a quarter. No, it was the federal government paid like a quarter, the state paid a quarter, the town on the property tax paid a quarter, and the homeowner paid a quarter. And I was got the benefit of that. Then when we went to the next phase, the federal government money was gone, and it was just the state. And I remember sitting here where we'd have people coming, well, you told me, I said, hey, they changed the rules. Now and now the state money was gone, and we ended up that, with the present way our regulations read as to how the betterments are. If there is federal money or state money coming, then I assume we would take advantage of that, which lowers the betterment cost. It never lowers the cost of constructing it.
Well, yeah, I would just say, that I think that's a point for another meeting. I
Right.
won't talk any longer, Mr. Chairman, I just wanna say this, that these people who did these proposals, they look at the most expensive way to do sewer. They run it right down the middle of the road, they rip the road up, they charge a fortune, which is totally unnecessary. We can have alternative analysis on these things. It's much cheaper. The town has an easement, 30 feet on the side of the road for utilities. Much easier to run it down the side of the road. You got horizontal drilling for spaghetti lines. They got all kinds of innovations for very low cost extension to sewers. So if we have neat pockets of need, let's say it's 15 neighborhoods or 20, whatever the number is, we could probably develop a program of, okay, we have these projects, maybe we have a meeting with the neighbors, invite the neighbors in those projects separately in each of their own groups to a meeting, find out, take an assessment, what is the level of interest, what is the level of confidence they would go forward, tell them what the economics are, so we know where the opportunity is strongest financially, not assuming we're gonna get all the grants that we would want, assuming we're gonna get maybe some of them. But that would be a way to proceed and look at also not just taking this, I would just say this kind of analysis, unfortunately, it's good to get this out on the table, but it can be done very inexpensive, and there's nothing worse than someone having a home and they can't have sewer, waste taken care of. I mean, and there are alternatives, we just have to be open to them, the new methods and the pumping and so forth, the spaghetti lines, whatever, the cross-country sewer lines and back or between the houses, getting easements, there's all kinds of things.
If I just add, in the, when you look at the, and I just gave a sample of one of the schematic diagrams, but in fact, they have a case on this. If you looked at that diagram, at the top, there's a dashed line, and that is a low-pressure sewer main, as opposed to having gravity. They are taking, in the past, we wanted to make everything gravity, and we do go behind, backyards and that sort of thing. And they were attempting to avoid having those pump stations like we have, at the end of Chandler or at Ganawati or High Oaks and whatever, and using a lot more of these low force mains where you're not digging up streets, and worrying about gravity. You'll just push it to where it needs to be. It brings up, and we have very few feet of low pressure sewer mains where a house is dumping not into a pump station, but into a gravity feed that feeds into a pump station, but rather a force main going into another force main heading up to someplace. In fact, near John and I, where Chandler, Conifer, if you know that, when you come in off of West Street, Chandler goes down and then it goes down the other way, and at this end is where the pump station. None of them are sewered here.
How do they do it?
What they're suggesting in the sewer master plan is all those houses here, we're not gonna put a pump station down here. We're gonna have, low pressure force mains. Everybody will push it up and then it'll go gravity into the thing. So they are taking,
Going off Cedar Street, though, and you take the left into that development. What is that, Chandler that goes down?
yeah, Chandler and Conifer, how does it get out? The house next to mine.
What I'm saying is both ends of that road go down.
Yeah, they both go down, but at the crown is, as you come in off of Cedar Street,
Right.
it goes in and then everything goes down. The part that goes, parallel to like the railroad tracks is where the pump station is.
Right, but how do they get the sewage up from the other end where it's down?
Well, there is no sewer on the other side, down, if you go down to Birch and whatever, there's no
Oh, okay.
sewer. says, all right, this is how we'll do it. We're not gonna put a pump station at the bottom there. Everybody would have a lower pressure, which would bring it up to, basically where, it comes off a cedar, and then it would just flow gravity into the, existing pump station.
And the homeowner owns that grinder pump
Yeah.
system.
Yeah, and then it becomes an issue if you wish to go that way, since it's not a less a new practice. I mean, we do have very minimal amount of this, is, are we going to buy the first one, or is the homeowner, or we got, this just all sorts of, who, when it wears out, who pays? But those are things you worry about once you decide to do it.
I remember back years ago, we sent out something to people, asking them, you know, what their thoughts were with the sewer.
Yeah,
And I don't think we got much response out of it at the time,
no,
if
and
I
the,
remember right.
thing that you got was that, it was interesting when we would have these meetings, two things. One, they want it, but don't wanna connect. They don't wanna connect until they have to. The other thing is, well, my system's fine, it's my neighbor's whose stinks. And the problem is everyone would just point to the next guy who stinks. They all had failed systems, but it was not my system, it was my neighbor's.
But also it's the government, the fact that
Yeah.
the boards of health have changed their standards
Oh,
so
yeah.
dramatically. It becomes impossible in many of those areas to put a new septic in because of the high groundwater.
And I agree with you, John, that if we're in the sewer business, if somebody has a problem, but, you know, if somebody has a problem tonight, there's nothing we can do, because we would have to appropriate money in the fall, and that would be for the design. You'd then go after the SRF money, and if there are, federal grants or whatever, they're usually competitive. I mean, you're talking 2 years plus before you're gonna do something.
Yeah, I have two questions. The entrance fees for sewer, when was the last it was set? Was it increased any time last time?
But there's two entrance fees. If you were assessed a betterment, it's $150. If you weren't, it's like, $2,300, right now.
So was
And that was-
$150 increased in last 10 years, or is it same?
The last time we adjusted it, we had, I think it was Woodcock and Associates, it might have been like 5 or 6 years ago. I mentioned this to Rick, that, maybe it's time to do that. One thing that, we wanna be careful of, and actually, they do it, they don't say, all right, you want the number higher or low or whatever. They come out and say, we go through all the calculations, you'll be able to back this up in court, we'll stand behind it. And what happened was
So we
the
had
water
it.
entrance fee went up, the sewer happened to go down, when we reset them. And it was interesting, the hotel that's down on, Route 1, that's almost into Foxborough, when they, went to the town and said, okay, we wanna do is, tell us what it's gonna cost for the sewer and water. And once they built it, of course, the rates had changed, and he was saying, oh, well, I want the rate you told us. And we said, well, if you want the water rate there, by the way, if you want those old water rates, you're getting the old sewer rate, which happened to, was one of those things, they went like this, and he was thinking, oh, they both went up, well, they didn't, and I forget which way he chose, but,
Okay, so there should be a plan to change the rates every 5 years or something.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one. The second question is, we are just discussing the master plan for wastewater. Is there any master plan for rainwater, stormwater, or reclaimed water?
For the water?
stormwater is handled by the DPW, we don't handle
Oh, stormwater, yeah, we don't have to
And
do
then
with it.
reclaimed water? Reclaimed water, like, do we reclaim the water and reuse it?
No.
No? Okay. So, the thing is, the whole master plan is just focusing on the wastewater. There's a lot of, utilities or a lot of town, they are moving to reclaimed water also. They basically take the water which is rain and other place and reuse it. So we should have a plan for both the wastewater and
We're
the
talking
reclaimed
sewer
water.
here.
Yeah, it's a wastewater, the same effort to basically, make a master plan to reclaim the water from
To reclaim the sewer water?
no, everything, any
He's
water,
talking about gray water.
any water, it's a
It's not
rainwater
green
or,
tanks.
yeah.
Well, there's a thing, you go to Florida in certain states, they have what they call gray water systems, which is your water's from your sinks and
I
so
know,
forth.
Utah has that too.
Yeah, but-
Are you talking about the rain tax? Every state except Massachusetts has a rain tax. With the
No,
ra-
no,
Are you
nothing
talking
about
about
tax,
that?
nothing about tax, it's about planning, like if you're going to spend, let's say, $2-3 million.
Okay, but what are you talking about? What kind
So
of water?
reclaimed water is
Are
any
you
water
talking about
which,
rainwater?
yeah, which the town can recollect it and sell it at lower rate for, let's say, industrial use or for the, play fields or grounds or big,
You know, we're, believe it or not, a rain-rich area, but that's our designation. If you were to start to collect water from various sources,
reclaimed.
in a highly industrialized area like we have, you would need all kinds of treatment plants.
No, that is to supply the drinking water, not for drinking.
You'd have two water systems, you mean?
No, that's for individual property. People can have their own gray water system on their own. Business
No,
property, their
reclaimed
own
water is,
The town can't run water lines all over the town, rewater the whole town
So-
for gray water, for reuse.
simple question, how does the town is watering the grounds now, playgrounds?
They use the water that comes out of our, our wells.
Okay,
They're not using much now,
okay, so,
it's been so wet.
I think what it does right now is the stormwater, and some towns have a charge, and I don't know whether it's a rain.
Not in
thing, but-
Massachusetts.
Oh, no, there are, that have stormwater, and they look at the size of your lot and where and it's,
What town has that?
if the NEPRA folks.
Yeah, but what town has
It's
that?
like Milton has
Has
I think some of
a
these
rain
others,
tax?
and they put it on their, it's another line on your water and sewer bill, you get a stormwater fee. Walpole has not gone that route.
So those things will be coming from the EPA, not from, our own plan. They'll be asking us to have those stormwater plan and reclaim water plan eventually.
Well, we do have to have a stormwater management plan, it's just not done by this board. It's
But do
something,
we collect fees for that?
I think it's just in the budget that for the public works, if
No,
you.
the town collects taxes, real estate
Yeah,
taxes.
real estate, but it's not, there isn't a
DPW is
single
funded
item,
by
a
that.
line item saying, your house on Atlantic, whatever,
No,
and we
that's
figure.
by the zone, that's decided by the zone, not by the particular house.
Well, in some communities, and I believe Milton had a rather complicated way, but if rainwater, and I understand if we can do something with it, and it's where it runs off, it's now stormwater, and how they, take care of it is not something that this
We're
board
getting
does.
off the sewer part of this. What I'd like to see is if we start getting problems, people asking us for sewer, we just send out stuff again and see who's interested.
Well, that was the final part in the sewer master plan was public participation, you find out, do they want it? And
Right.
so, and I think part of the thing is you tell them, I think people say, oh, well, that's great, well, I think it's important you let them know, by the way, this is what, you have, the water sewer rate is like $90, your water rate, is like half that, and by the way, if it goes by your house, you're gonna have a bit of it.
Okay. let's
So
keep-
that they know, that they can make an intelligent decision, that it's not just something, well, I'd like it, or I need it, and I need it today. So-
Let's move on to discussion item 2, this is the Coach Road Sewer Extension Evaluation.
This is the thing, the area up in North Walpole where we've asked Weston and Sampson, and I think that we ought to ask them to take a look at the, southern part, or, the areas, West Pine Drive and those rural areas, because if you look at the work that the Board of Health did for me, they've got problems down there also.
So this is something I think we probably wanna discuss with Rick, since, he, was collecting this information, I guess, for us, as far as the scope of work and all that.
Yeah.
The Public Works Director.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3. Southwood Hospital, Patrick.
Yes, number 3. Okay,
This is your
If you-
concern with the.
I got an email, okay, from the town administrator actually, and I suppose you folks all got the same email, right? And it was explaining that everything we know, everything that we think we know is not true. We don't know if it's really gonna be Amazon. That's not true. And we don't know what's gonna go there. We don't even know if anything is gonna go there, okay?
I didn't get that email, by the way.
Okay,
I heard Amazon bought that whole place,
that's not true, according to the town of Norfolk.
okay?
So, you know, still, if it were to be, let me put it this way, if there were to be land disturbance, then I would like to see, I think we should all see, a set of monitoring wells along our property to see what's coming into our ball fields.
There is a well there somewhere.
Yeah, there probably have to be more than one,
Well, and then the other thing.
but they're not
is,
expensive, Sean.
That's downhill from us.
Yeah, but land disturbance can go any way it wants.
I know, I'm just.
Generally, it follows the
Property
contour,
downhill.
it can go through different permeable soils. Anyway, the point is that we should put this under advisement so we know what we're doing. Because we don't even know if anything will ever go there. But you got this, right?
Yeah, well, once we
It's
find
bigger
out
than-
if something's going in there, we could act.
If something's going in there, we have to do something.
Yeah, that's, we could wait and then act,
I think so.
you know?
Yeah, why should we do anything?
And maybe depending what's going in with even more urgency too,
That's true.
you know?
That's why I'm saying it's probably something we need to think about later.
Okay, so we can put this to bed for now? Right. Okay. Discussion item 4.
This is the thing that that Rick wants a vote on, because, and it's really just the first, fiscal year 2020 items, both water and sewer. They're items that,
So this is the one we're gonna put on for next month?
yeah, I,
Yeah.
you know, my own concern is that there's
No,
some concern.
no, this is a vote tonight. The other one was for the articles, that's for the next meeting.
Yeah,
This has to be something where you decide which of these capital improvements you want, because the capital budget committee meets on the 24th, starting, and
Right.
the 25th is when sewer and water goes before.
Of August?
Yes,
yes.
Oh,
so you guys have to decide which one of these things you want, if all of them, or what.
Okay.
And I think that they're, both for the sewer as well as the water, that we should go with all the 6 priorities in water and the 5 priorities in sewer.
I would like to know, on 2022, it says investigation of supplemental water source. And that's almost $1 million.
That would be for Mine Brook 4, to
Yeah.
do the permitting.
Well, that would be interesting because we have another water source for supplemental, and it's called the MWRA.
And that's in discussion item 6, because it was brought up. I dug up the materials, plus some new
So,
information.
Maybe we can discuss them both together.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, can we do that?
sure.
Discuss 6 and 4 since they're related.
If I could just make a suggestion, that we just go down, do we want phase 2 skater upgrade on the list or not? And
Well, you know, we need somebody here to explain these things to us.
we've got the superintendent right here.
All right, what's the skater upscale, what are they gonna get, what are we gonna get for, more than $500,000?
Skate upgrades are necessary, the components that run this system are no longer manufactured. So what we have, they're not making anymore, the parts are drying up, whatever's out there, a surplus new, surplus used, repair, what's there is there, you're gonna reach the point where you can't fix it anymore. They've already done phase 1, which was this plant for the controls, the filter system, and also everything within it. You still have to do all the outlying areas, the pumping stations, the storage tanks, those are still running obsolete equipment. Cause we broke it down into phases.
How long we've had, when was this telemetering, you're talking about telemetering here, right?
In part, but just the components for this plant, the plant was, construction started in '97,
Okay.
so it's aged, it's been in operation for 23 years, 1998. So
I
it's,
understand now.
What does that buy for time when we upgrade this?
Telemetry.
These are all currently available components. There's no real end of life seen in the near future.
Okay.
You
So
needed
more
to
than
do
a
it
5 or
in
10
phase
year
one.
capital budget cycle.
We need to do phase
You do
two.
get more than 5 to 10 years out of this.
Okay.
Scott, on priority two, water main replacement.
Yeah.
Where is that?
This
That's-
is- Go ahead.
That's gonna be, Rhodes Ave, Logan Way, June Street, Walnut Beach.
It's the last of the unlined cast iron names. You know, we were doing a whole series of.
Are you replacing all the asbestos lines?
They're not asbestos, they're
No,
cast
I'm
iron.
saying
That would be
Not
the
in
next
this-
set of phases.
Yeah, not in this year. That's further down the line in the 5 years.
Also on the sewer side, the sewer extension of priority two. Where and what is that?
What that is on the first priority of the sewer main, is a section on Main Street, and phase 12 is another section on Main Street. Since they're gonna repave it, it's put in, don't do phase 1, don't do phase 12, but at least put the pipe in where it's supposed to be in, under the road, so, because once they repave Route 1A, you're not gonna get another chance for decades probably.
But we're gonna own it,
Oh, yeah,
it's not gonna be the state.
That's $1.5 million.
yeah. Sewer, as you can see on the master plan, is expensive.
Okay, does anyone have any problem with the first 6 priorities for 2022?
Yes, Commissioner.
Go ahead.
So I had asked a question in the previous discussion about the meter system components,
Yeah.
both water and sewer.
Well, you may not-
There's like $350,000 will be spent, but there's no guarantee that it will solve the irregular billing or late billing. So I don't think that expense is needed unless we get a guarantee from the town that they can fix the water billing properly, they can do the water billing properly.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Bill.
In the past, we've been doing like, I think it was like 80,000 to buy those MTUs. They wear out after 10 years and whatever. Because of the problems that we've had with our current system, and Mary can talk about every time they do a commitment sheet, that they start off with like, maybe 50 or 100, cases where the system wasn't recording anything, and you gotta arrange appointments and it all takes time. We've had some discussions, and I don't know if you were on at the time before, but looking at another company, Badger, has things where they would not use radio waves it would be using basically cell phone signals, different approach. And you'd have all the doodads on a cell phone, people could look and see what, on a day-by-day basis, but it would be just another way of replacing what we do. It's gonna cost a lot of money, and the 250,000 would be to do.
Just to maintain what we have.
Well, no, it would, if we were just maintaining, I believe we would have just asked for 80,000 in the water and 80,000 of sewer like we've done, so that we keep, having a supply of these MTUs. This would be, it's more expensive to go with this other approach, where instead of having little antennas and repeaters and, radio towers, they just send little blasts on, through, cell signals, cell phone signals. I think we have, Mary, you know this, we have, I think the Siemens uses the one that came.
The water scope.
Yeah, the water scope, I think maybe the fields, and there might be one or two others
Fields,
maybe,
yeah, and we have
as a pilot.
as a pilot, and then we have 60 that we have out now.
Okay.
So on that water scope system, there's 60 residences that have meters. It's a very sophisticated system. My feeling is it's more than we would ever need.
So, the thing is, the price together is like 350K, this is almost 350, I was told that $350 per meter cost. So are we going to replace 1,000 meters? Like it's almost 1/10 of the whole town.
Yeah, and then next year they would do,
So are we, no, the question is, are we going to replace 1/10 of the town next year?
Yeah.
if we appropriate the money, we will, if we don't, we don't.
Okay, so if we do, yeah, if we do 1/10 of the town, can you fix the billing issue? Which is really an irregular. So
Absolutely, and what
that's
we're in
what
the
I'm trying
process
to
now,
get it.
and I know Rick has mentioned in the past just all the problems that we had with the Mueller system and the transmitters, and we're finally at a point now in the office that we have all the equipment we need, and we have the staff. So we're really pounding out the appointments now,
Patrick,
to have everything.
Looking at this, and I understand this is just a plan, okay, because, we're volunteers. We have employees who can tell us basically what we need, what's important, what isn't important. For me to vote on this, and again, why are we voting on this? I mean, we need to vote on each one of these when it comes due. Why do we have to why is it up to the commission to generate a capital improvement plan when this should be done by town management? That's what I don't understand, John. And here's another thing too, even here, I'd like to see totals at least after each one of these costs.
yeah,
Notice they're not totaled up, so you don't even know what's going on there, so.
I think Rick and Scott have to, go before the capital budget committee and the finance committee and give them an indication of what our expenditures are gonna be and what the capital improvement items are. And if we don't give them a vote, then they can't really.
So they want us to rubber stamp this.
Well, I'm not defending that part of it, I'm just saying, this is, I think, if someone doesn't explain to you, it's probably more risk on them than you, because you could vote this tonight, and then we can obstruct any spending on any of these items down the road, if you don't get proper explanation and feel they were presented properly to you at the time you voted. All
I
you're doing is
understand
voting
that.
it based on the limited
I understand
information you have, which is
plan.
very superficial. So, it's a double-edged risk,
I just don't wanna give my approval to, I don't even know how much this is unless I add it up.
yeah, well, I would like to discuss the whole idea, do we really wanna start going down the road with the well development project, that's a $5 million, or $4 million undertaking, we're starting off with quite a bit of money off right at the top, we're gonna start that before we fully vet the MWRA alternative that you've promoted on several occasions.
If I give you an answer, Patrick, too, the bottom line cost is gonna change depending on whether you keep them all or take something out. You don't have to vote every single thing, so if you take one out,
I don't think that's our job to be taking things out or putting things in, because we're the commissioners, we do policy. We don't do planning, really. This is paid employees do that type of thing.
and they've
Who
done
know what they're doing.
that.
I
Right.
mean,
And they've done that, and then we come before you with the capital budget request, and any questions like just the last meeting that you have, we explain.
you'd have to explain every single one and all the ramifications of what it, and it's
what's the investigation of the
administrative, it's
supplemental water source?
That's Minebrook 4 and MWRA.
What do we investigate?
Well, the feasibility.
Mr. Chairman, first, as far as what you see here, at the previous meeting, you had not only this first sheet, but you had all the backup information which told what streets, why we were doing it, that sort of thing. Some of them are not totaled because they're borrowed, others are done, out of retained earnings. And so we have had, an explanation. In terms
Yeah,
of
but
the
they're not-
$875,000 supplemental water source, Wright Pierce has come up with, this is what it'll cost to bring on Minebrook 4 online. And they've broken it into two pieces. One, the design and permitting, where you then go to the DEP, they say, okay, and then you have the actual construction. The total, and I think we had that information in a prior meeting, comes up to like $3.5 million all total.
So what are we getting for the $875?
The design, the permitting, you're going to have to, because if you've been out there, it's near the wetlands, I'm sure we're gonna end up going before the Conservation Commission, get their approval, and
Which is free.
I know, well, but they may say you have to do this, that, and whatever, but you just can't put in a well, you have to get the
Well, it's
all the
there.
permits.
It's just-
But it's never been activated, and you're gonna have to that was put in 1968, you're probably gonna have to put in a new one feet away from the other one. I mean, they'll look at it, but if it's been sitting there unused for now, what's that, 40-something plus years?
If I could as well. The two sheets that you have here are the updates, this is what's changed since you had before, so item number 6 has been added. At the last meeting, there was another packet where everything that's in here is broken down by what it is in detail. So these two sheets, not all the information you have.
Right, okay, so I think I'm gonna move that we approve the first 5 items for the, water, capital budget plan. And we, defer on 6 until we have more discussion about the detail of moving on that and the expenses and the alternatives and, MWR and everything
That's a
else.
lot of money for,
So I'm gonna make the motion that we approve the 5 items, 1 through 5, for the capital budget
For water.
for water.
do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
All right.
We need to have a vote.
Any more
I
discussion?
would go on all 6, but, there not being
We can get to 6, but it doesn't have to be tonight, that's all.
Yeah.
well,
It does have to be tonight.
yeah.
It's going for capital budget committee on the 25th.
No, I understand, I'm just saying, I mean, there's another town meeting cycle.
Right. You wanna hold off for another, that's,
It's a few months.
Let's hold off on 6.
all right, so I've seconded John's, motion.
Okay. We have Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
I oppose.
Opposed?
Abstain.
3-1-1, Mary. How about the suicide?
I vote that we, again, approve the 5, I move that we approve the 5 items
I'll second it.
requested.
Any more discussion on it? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oppose.
Abstained?
No, I don't, no, I vote yes.
4-1, Mary. Okay. Discussion item 6. This is-
We had some discussion, at our prior meeting when we talked about Minebrook 4 and, John mentioned the MWA, so I did some information. If we're gonna postpone, let's move on. The information's not gonna change, the numbers will go up or down, whatever, but,
Okay.
so,
Sorry, Mary.
unless anybody has questions, but
All right, discussion number 7. And this the one that's going in next to Howard Engineering?
no. This deals with, one of the 2 developments down, apartment developments.
Oh, I'm looking at the guy's address.
Yeah, no, this, I wish Rick was here because he could explain it, he's been negotiating with them. When it came time for them to get their permits, and you can't get your building permit unless you pay your, fees, entrance fees and whatever, they put things so they didn't hold up, cause they were disputing things. They said, all right, we're gonna pay, but it's in escrow. Rick's been, negotiating with them to,
Why don't we ask Rick to be at the next meeting
That'd be a good idea.
and get the vote on that? Where are we? Discussion item 8. This is from Rita.
So, we had, discussion about we had the cash report with Rick and Mary and others. The issue here is the delayed billing, the total time it's taking for, town to bill, water or sewer is more than 150 to 200 days. Where the commissioners here have given 90 days to bill, plus 30 days to collect.
Mary, isn't that coming down now?
It is,
Okay.
we've been working on shortening
Hopefully
that
that's gonna
lag,
get
it's
better.
just taking a little bit of time, cause we couldn't do it all at once, cause that would really have an impact on the
Right.
revenue.
So that's the current situation.
Yep.
So short-term goals we discussed is that we try to reduce that to 120 days going forward as soon as possible by working with different departments.
Catch up to it.
Yeah, catch up to it. Now, to do that, we need to monitor those numbers, for next few months to see whether it's really coming down or not. The long-term goal is to basically find an outside vendor to do monthly electronic billing, and the reason I'm saying outside vendor is that it's not possible for a town to do monthly billing. That's what I have heard multiple times. The outside vendors, there are a lot of vendors who do monthly billing. Even the Walpole School Board and Food Services, they are already move away to another vendors using their own.
We can look into that.
So that's a long-term goal to basically reduce the meter to cash to less than 30 days or basically monthly billing. The main advantage is as the rates are going up every year, it will go up with cost inflation. The water is the only bill which is coming quarterly and it hits people's budget. It hits like, at a time it will be $300 to $500. Just for example, my electricity bill comes like 26, or at least gas bill comes $23, $25. Sometime summer or sometime in winter it changes. And it's predictable, it's payable. The whole water bill is not predictable. It's sometimes it's $800 to $1,000, sometimes it's $200, $300. So it will help every family when we move to a monthly budget or monthly billing. So that's the whole meter to cash monitoring. The second thing I received was the rate study from some old rate study which was done last fiscal year, I think this calendar year, which asked for some changes to the rates. So next two item is item 2 and 3 is about related to surcharges and the water rate study tier. So related to surcharges was recommended by the rate study, which says that we should have rates related to surcharges because there are situations where people may not be using the water for long, they are out of town or do something, or let's say with rental properties. So reducer will basically make it a flat charge, but it's not an extra charge, it's just a minimum charge. That the recommendation from the study was it can be a
You
minimum
talking
charge.
the ready to serve thing?
Yeah.
I have a problem with that. The only way I'd go for something like that is if they put in some kind of an extent there, something to protect the elderly. That are on a fixed income.
That's true, that's what that will help, isn't it? Like, once you have the minimum charge, then you can take, application from the elderly and.
This is another tax.
It's not tax, it's minimum charge. If you use the water for the same, then
Still
fine.
a tax. Billy,
Yeah,
It's not a separate, there's no rate change or anything, it's a minimum charge.
this was presented to us
okay,
back in
yeah,
two
Yeah,
thousand eighteen.
it's not a separate charge, it's not a separate charge.
And what it is that if you looked at, there were, and there's a certain logic to it, that our indirect costs, it doesn't matter whether, they have to do their work, and it doesn't matter whether your bill's $100 or 200. The accountant, collecting, it's the same thing, and the idea is, all right, you're gonna pay a fixed fee, and you would deduct what you collect out of the indirect costs, or it could have been capital. Some places have a separate capital, because it covers everybody, and it's not related to your usage. The reason
So
that
it
we
actually
would,
wouldn't be an increase, it would just,
well, what happens is that
be just like a guarantee.
why we didn't do it, even though there is some rationale to do it, is that it causes the, and you suggested $32.
I didn't suggest, the
You
numbers
said
from
that in your,
the,
yeah, in the
it's
thing.
from the,
What
study.
happens is that you end up paying more now until you get to around using 2,800 cubic feet per quarter. That's like about 65% of the ratepayers will see an increase. And the reason is that you end up lowering the water, the rates, because you're now collecting some as a flat fee. But that flat fee, like if you had 500 cubic feet in a quarter, say, and you may say, who does that? Well, I'll tell you, a lot of people who just one person in the house uses sometimes even less. Your current bill is $26. If you lower the rates and just lowering it, instead of right now, in that first year, it's $53.12 per thousand, it would go down to $43. Their water rate goes down to 21.
There's no.
Why
And
do we
then you
need
add
this?
$32 on top of it. Now they, instead of paying $26, that person ends up paying $53. And as you go down, it gets smaller and smaller until you get to around 3,000 cubic feet, and then you actually start paying less.
I don't think it's something we
It's
even
not,
need.
yeah.
No, that's,
So Commissioner, that's a wrong explanation. The minimum charges is you have the $32 for 3 months. A minimum charges is basically your water is on. It's not a rate increase, it's not a separate fees. It's about the cost of delivering the bills to you. It is not
It's not gonna bother me, but I don't know why
Yeah.
we need it.
So that's explained in the study, why it is there, and more than 60 to 70% of the Massachusetts community do that. And
If they jump off a bridge, I'm not gonna follow.
No, which is fine,
Uh-huh.
which is totally fine. I'll give you an example. I didn't get bill 1 quarter because I was out of the town for more than, it was less than $1 bill, which is fine for me.
Yeah.
But if you look at the whole picture, then if there's a lot of rental communities, then it hurts the revenue. That's the whole thing.
But if you're not here, you go on vacation or something, you're gone for a few months, then we hit you with this fee. You didn't use the water, why should you get hit with it?
well, the
No, it's a
rationale
minimum
is
charge.
that the system
System
existed there.
system exists there. If you have fire for those, let's say 3 months, you still want, the water to come to your house, the water is on. You don't know which day you're coming, the water is on. You're not shutting off your water and going away, isn't it?
The other way, John, if everybody went away at the same time, and no one was there, the town wouldn't get any revenue for that period, but the town would have spent the money to operate the water system, have the staff, have the overhead to fix the costs. So it's like a contribution. If you have a right to do something, you never use it, but it's there for you, and you have a piece of the pie available to you, you're paying for that user right.
And the same is charged by town.
But it
Town
doesn't add,
charges.
add on, as
Yeah.
long as you use $50 or whatever, it doesn't affect you, it's just the person who doesn't use the system.
I don't think it's
No, it
it's
does.
necessary.
Everybody gets charged the ready-to-serve charge, and you lower the rate.
No,
Because-
it's not a separate,
No, that-
no.
So you're saying
Why
you,
do
No,
this?
it's a minimum
well,
charge.
I don't know how they did it in the
They
water.
explained, they
yes.
explained. Medfield does the same thing, it's a
Yeah.
minimum
Let's give
charge.
Patrick a chance here.
Yeah.
Okay, I like to be simple. If we have a minimum charge, which I have to pay, by the way, in my other property, in a different place, that's fine, except that should not be a fee that the seniors pay. Okay, so let's say there's a $100 minimum charge, okay, that reoccurs. but seniors are excluded from that. And then we have a flat rate, okay, for residential. And then on the non-residential, we have a completely different type of rate structure. Pradeep, all the stuff you have here is pretty good, except for the rate stuff.
No, so this
I'll
is
fight
not,
with you about the
yeah,
rates.
this is from the study I got, which was
I
done by the
understand.
commissioner
Okay,
in this fiscal year.
okay.
I just took the numbers from there and I put it here.
No, that's a fine thing, because I think that our collection system is not the best it could be. But as far as the rates are concerned, we need to have another meeting about the rates. So everybody has their own idea. You have ideas, John, right, about the rates?
Yeah, I don't wanna make it complicated.
Okay,
Plus, Patrick, you can't exempt seniors, cause the four of us are seniors, so you could never get a vote, we all are in conflict of interest, we're all
okay, that's a good.
You never get that passed.
Anyway, like you said, John, that's a double-edged sword, having a minimum fee.
I don't like it.
Well, I don't like it for the seniors. By the way, did we skip number 5?
No, which.
No, he's on the agenda.
No, it's something
number
else.
5
I
on the
moved.
agenda.
Just, can we go back to that, we're finished here, please?
Well, why don't we just, Pradeep finish and then we can
That's
go
right,
back
that's
to
what I
5.
asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, so number 3 is also from the study, which basically says that there's the tiers can be combined, but I think we can discuss this in a broader rate study discussions. The main thing was that the 4 tiers are more than enough. We can combine those, some of the tiers
There is
to,
one, don't know why it's not there.
Yeah, that's why I didn't bring it up.
There wasn't any backup.
Okay,
It's on the agenda, but there was no backup.
okay. All right, so,
So the last item was the bills, I think, which we are getting as a board of sewer and water in the billing address. And my objection to that is that we are board, not a billing agency. So that should be removed from our water bills.
John, can I speak to that?
sure.
Okay, in the town charter, Pradeep, if you look at it, you'll see that the sewer and water board has exclusive charge and control of the water department. For some reason, that's what it says. But we definitely have complete control over the billing and how it's billed. Okay, so we've been sending out bills for a year that don't tell the people, where is this coming from? It's coming from their elected officials or the sewer
Which is
and
town
water
hall.
commissioners. It's not coming from the selectmen, it's not coming from town meeting, it's coming from this particular point. And we're the provider and we're the owner.
And that is, we are the owner and provider of the enterprise fund.
Of the what?
Of the enterprise fund, the billing is done by, today's town of Walpole is doing the billing for
No,
customers.
that's not correct.
Isn't it?
No, that is not correct.
We are paying them as a fund,
Yeah.
we are paying them,
Okay.
1.8 million.
Indirect costs.
Indirect costs.
That's why
etc.
I wanna go there
So
later.
tomorrow, let's say the commissioner decide that this particular billing will be done by ABC company, okay? So their billing address will come. That doesn't mean that we lose our, authority to set the rate or own the system or regulate the system.
Okay, town charter says that we decide how the billing will be done.
Which is fine, that is,
And we're the people who issue the bills. They're under our name.
the problem is,
That's it.
but no one writes a check for Board of Sewer and Water, they write for Town of Walpole.
Well, they could,
Then it should be fine.
they could,
But as
if
of.
we bill them that way. If we said we want all the billings to come and say to the Sewer and Water Commissioner,
Why
can do
couldn't
that.
why couldn't the bill say Stormwater Commission Town of Walpole?
it does say that, John, that's what it does.
This year it started saying
Well,
it.
then they're gonna write the check to the Town of Walpole.
This year it started saying it, that's why I felt odd, why it is added into the billing address. It can be, all other details, but as a billing address, it looks odd. We are not the billing service provider, we are given
I
this
think it's
work to the
I
town.
think it's a non-problem.
Yeah.
Okay,
Indirect costs, before we get to the last thing. John, what I want the commission to think about, we don't have to vote on anything. The town of Dudley, Massachusetts, they really didn't know how the indirect costs, if they were really reflecting exactly what the costs were. So they asked the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and there is a, believe it or not, there's a government agency that looks into indirect costs. So,
What's the name of it?
oh, I forgot, John, I can get that for you, okay? And I'll tell you who ran it, Lasky, who Lasky is, right? Anyway, so, indirect costs, you know, we trust town administration to be as fair and efficient as possible, but I think maybe we should think about verifying that. But that's what I'm gonna be bringing up later, and you're gonna be thinking about this till the next meeting maybe, and see if we want the state to do an audit on our indirect costs,
okay.
and see if they really reflect what, our costs are.
Okay. Last but not least, our secretary's position, and I'm not gonna get into it tonight.
No,
I spoke to the town administrator, he said it would be bad, and it would probably be illegal
what?
to talk about it with our secretary here now.
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing, we need to have it go out for bid, there's a whole bunch of things we need to do. When's our meeting, Joe, did he ever get back to you?
I saw him this morning,
Oh,
went down and saw him this morning, I finally
I
called him.
wish you had called me.
Well, it was a spirit of it, I think, if I hadn't talked to him before the meeting, I knew the meeting was tonight, he never got back to me before,
Okay,
So,
so I wanna hold on.
okay, the town administrator is in charge of what we do as far as the secretary goes.
No, there are state laws and stuff on it.
well, we need to see the state laws, John. Could you have him please give us the state laws
I can
that
do
he was
that.
referring to, so we can look at them? Because all those years, we must have been doing something wrong. When we had Stephanie and we had Mia.
But I don't know when we got Stephanie, and then if we had someone on at the same time, you know. I don't know if we had someone in the acting position when we voted Stephanie in,